Hello everyone and welcome you all once again on our channel Gyan or Vigyan. Today in the series of question and answer I am going to discuss about D block chemistry. So if you have the basic knowledge about D block, it becomes easier to grasp coordination chemistry. So without wasting any time, let's get started. So let's start the question number 51. Let's read it. Incorrect statement about chromium plus 2 and Mn plus 3 is. So if you have to understand this, that the first three element, that means leaving aside scandium, that is titanium, vanadium and chromium, and thereafter the next three is manganese, iron and cobalt. So you should know one very important thing, that for these three actually M plus 3 is more stable as compared to M plus 2. What does it mean? It means that their plus 3 oxidation state is more stable than plus 2. You might have heard about chromium, that chromium from plus 6 state, generally when taken with any reducing agent, then it used to go and prefer chromium plus 3 state. So with that logic you can understand and you can remember this as that it is plus 3 is more stable than plus 4. Now coming to on the right hand side, that means when you talk about these three, their plus 2 state is more stable than plus 3. When KMnO4 is treated is plus 7 with any reducing agent, although that depends on medium also, but if I am taking in the acidic medium, it goes from Mn plus 7 to Mn plus 2 form. So with the help of that you can remember this, that its plus 2 is more stable than plus 3. Now you tell me, let's read the statement. Once again keep the point that these are plus 3 more stable and these are plus 2 more stable. So first point they are writing that chromium plus 2 is a reducing agent. So as you know that chromium plus 3 is more stable, then chromium plus 2 would like to go here into plus 3 state. How it can go? By losing an electron. So it is increasing its oxidation number. So this process is known as oxidation and this will act as reducing agent. So chromium plus 2 is a reducing agent, that's a correct option. But they are asking incorrect. Now coming to the next, Mn plus 3 is an oxidizing agent. Once again, as you know, manganese is stable in plus 2 state. So Mn plus 3 would like to go into Mn plus 2. So how it will go there? By accepting an electron. This is simply reduction and it will act as an oxidizing agent. So that statement is also correct, but they are asking about incorrect statement. Moving to the option third, both chromium plus 2 and Mn plus 3 exhibit D4 configuration. That you can do anyway. You know the chromium configuration is what? Argon 3D5 4s1. So if you will remove, because they are asking about chromium plus 2, that means chromium plus 2 will be how much? Argon 3D4 and 4s0. Now similarly if you look at manganese plus 3, so configuration of Mn is how much? So Mn is equal to argon 3D5 4s2. If you remove the electron, these two electron, then Mn plus 2 will become how much? Argon 3D5. Now Mn plus 3 will be how much? It will be argon 3D4. So is that statement correct? Yes, because Mn plus 3 is also D4 and chromium plus 2 is also D4. So by default the option fourth become wrong. Then we can verify that also. You see chromium plus 2 prefers to go into chromium plus 3. What was the configuration of this one? It was D4. So where will it go now? It is further losing one electron, so it will be D3. But what they have written here? D5. Is it correct? No. So that's a wrong statement. That's what they are asking also. So as per this question, correct answer will be 4. Now let's talk about question number 52. So what does it say? The outer electronic configuration of gadolinium is, whose atomic number is 64. So guys, if you remember that gadolinium 64, so we will write like this: Gd, configuration of Gd will be equal to the configuration of xenon, whose atomic number is 54, and thereafter 10 electron is left. So it is filled in such a way that technically what it should be, it should be first 4f, complete whatever the electron that is there 54, then all 10 electrons should be here, and there should be 5d0 and like that. Now guys, let's talk about question number 52. So what does it says? The outer electronic configuration of gadolinium Gd, whose atomic number is 64. So as per the rule of electronic configuration, if you are following Aufbau principle, then how the order should be. So Gd is equal to, let's talk about noble gas term, xenon, whose atomic number is 54, and thereafter 10 electron is left. So it should be technically filled in 4f. So whole thing should be 4f10 and 5d0 and 6s0. But due to half filled stability, and as you know that there is a very less energy gap between ns, n minus 1d and n minus 2f, so which technically means that energy level of 4f, 5d and 6s are very close. And you know that when, if it will become 7, then it will be attaining the half filled stability as well. So the correct configuration, instead of this value, the correct configuration is in which 4f is having 7 electron. So 4f7, 5d1 and 6s2 is the correct answer. Now coming to the question number 53, they are asking about the correct order of ionic radii of Ce plus 3, Yb plus 3, lanthanum plus 3, promethium plus 3. So now it's very interesting to know that unlike d block cations, the radius of the lanthanoid series element gradually decreases when you move from left to right. So if we'll start from the lanthanum, then lanthanum plus 3 will have the highest value of the radius. Thereafter cerium will come, cerium plus 3, and like that it will go. So it is very regular. So what will be the correct answer? So wherever lanthanum and cerium are given together, so that is this one. So correct answer will be 1. Now moving to the next question, 54. So they are asking about which of the following pairs of element is called chemical twins because of their very similar chemical properties. Now this is a fact based thing because you cannot guess it. Okay, so you need to know it, and the correct answer in this case is, if you go through the titanium group, Ti, Zr, HF and RF. So when you move from 3D to 4D, there is a considerable increase in the size. But from 4D to 5D when you move, then the size, actually the expected size should be larger, but because of the lanthanoid contraction it becomes smaller and comes very close to zirconium. And because of this particular thing, the property of zirconium and hafnium becomes very similar. So that's what the word used here. So my answer would be 4th. Now moving to the next question, 55. Which of the following lanthanoid is a non-radioactive? So guys, I think there is a mistake in this particular thing, because if you will talk about non-radioactive, so apart from two things, one is promethium and other thing is samarium. If you leave these two elements, then remaining all of them are actually non-radioactive. So rather than asking non-radioactive, here it should be radioactive. So if it is radioactive, which of the following is radioactive? The answer will be promethium. Now coming to the question number 56. So activated copper 1 cation undergoes disproportionation as copper plus 1 undergoes disproportionation into plus 2 and 0. Now when you talk about this question, then why it is going from plus 1 to plus 2? Is there any advantage? Yes. So what might be the advantage? Advantage of hydration energy. You see that hydration energy will increase because polarizing power of copper plus 2 is more. Copper plus 2 is more as compared to copper plus 1. I am talking about polarizing power. So more the polarizing power, more better it will hydrate. and more better if it will hydrate, what will happen? So more hydration energy. So the advantage that copper plus 2 have in aqueous solution is higher hydration energy. Now what is the demerit? That it have to take the ionization energy, because unless you remove an electron from here, it can't go. So the positive point, now we have to compare about the hydration energy and ionization energy of copper plus 1, or you can say IE2 of copper 0, right? So obviously this happens, which indicates that the hydration energy is a dominating factor. Now let's read the option. Copper plus 1 have D0 configuration, it's meaningless. Copper plus 2 have D0 D10 configuration, it's once again meaningless. Hydration energy of copper plus 2 is higher than that of copper plus 1, which compensates the second ionization energy of the copper. Yes, this is perfectly fine. The correct answer will be third one. Now let's move to the question number 57. Which of the following is amphoteric oxide? Once again, if you do not know the list of amphoteric oxide, you cannot solve. I think there is one doubtful thing that is adopted here, and that is V2O4, right? In the book it has been given that VO2, the monomeric unit of this, is amphoteric. So if you will consider that, then we will get two answer, otherwise we will get one answer. So what is the correct answer? Cr2O3 and V2O5, they are amphoteric. At the same time this is also. So we have any option? Yes, we have one, and at the same time we have fourth also. So if it is a printing mistake, then correct answer will be 1, otherwise 1 and 4 both will be correct. Now let's come to question number 58. So zinc and cadmium do not show variable valency because, if you look at zinc, cadmium, their configuration is what? D10 and S2. D10 and S2. So what might be the reason? If you will remove this, they are already at a very stable state, right? So they are soft? No. Their D subshells are complete? Yes. So that is a proper explanation according to me. Because of their D subshells are complete, and that is the major reason why they are more stable in zinc plus 2 form. But let me tell you, that is not the only deciding factor. Okay, that is true for the zinc and cadmium, but you cannot say, otherwise you will say that sir, copper plus 1 is also having D10, then why copper plus 2 exist? Actually, when you will talk about a solution, then multiple energy terms actually are considered. That is, when you go from copper to copper plus 2 aqueous, multiple energy, that means copper solid to copper gas first, that means the sublimation energy that you have to consider, then subsequent ionization from copper plus to copper plus 1, and then directly to copper plus 2. So sum of IE1 plus IE2, and because it has become into copper plus 2 and now water is there, so obviously copper plus 2 aqueous, so here we will get hydration energy. So it is the sum of all the energy term that decides. Electronic configuration is not the only reason, but yes, in case of zinc and cadmium it seems to be correct. Alright, now moving to the question number 59. Transition element which exhibit typical metal complex structure. Yes, once again it's a fact based thing. It is Mn whose structure is found to be quite complicated and multiple crystalline form. So this is a matter of fact that you have to remember. Now moving to the question number 60. Which metal has the lowest melting point out of these? So if you remember, when we are moving from D1 dot 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 to D10, if you remember those things, that melting point used to first increase up to chromium, then there is a decrease at Mn, and once again there is increase at iron, and thereafter it gradually decreases. So as the number of unpaired electron in D decreases, it constantly decreases. So which metal has the lowest melting point? So yes, on the extreme side, right extreme side, means zinc, cadmium and mercury are having the lowest, and just before that it is copper, Ag and Au. Now they have given about copper and Ag and Au. So out of these two, let me tell you, out of these two, the correct answer will be, the melting point order actually varies in this way, that copper, thereafter Au, and thereafter silver. So it is the silver whose melting point is least actually. So the correct answer will be Ag here. Now moving to the question number 61, which of the following compound is a metallic and at the same time ferromagnetic? So guys, please understand this thing. Here they are saying about which is having appearance like metal at the same time is ferromagnetic. Okay, so it is the property associated with CrO2. So if you do not know what is ferromagnetism, let me quickly brief you. If a particular ion which is forming a crystal that is in solid state, first of all you understand ferromagnetism, anti-ferromagnetism, ferrimagnetism, these are the property associated with a solid. So I am talking about the CrO2 solid structure, right. So as you can see, chromium is there in chromium plus 4 state. Now let us look at its configuration. So it will be argon and 3d 3d2. So do we have unpaired electron here? Yes, we have. How many unpaired electron? 2. So that means if you will talk about individually that one of the chromium plus 4, then it is undoubtedly paramagnetic in nature. So something which is paramagnetic in nature will contribute to the magnetic dipole. So but when they used to crystallize now, so they may crystallize in particular fashion if this kind of arrangement, that means one of the chromium plus 4, another chromium plus 4, if they are getting arranged in this way, then they will basically add up and enhance the magnetic property of the material, and we say them to be ferromagnetic. Contrary to that, if you look at this species, this is not ferromagnetic, because here the alignment of the individual magnetic dipole is not aligned in one direction. In solid state, in this case, it is like this. Now you can imagine. So the ferromagnetic property is associated with that. Now how will we know? So there is no theoretical method to determine it. There are always the practical methods, right? So because of that, it is once again a matter of knowledge only. If you know these compounds, then only you can answer it, otherwise you can't. So the correct answer in this case is CrO2, which is having a luster like metal, and at the same time it is ferromagnetic in nature. Moving to the next question, 62. They have given in one particular column about the various catalysts, and in other they have given about the different processes associated with it. So if you remember that contact process that was during the preparation of H2SO4, when SO2 was oxidized by using oxygen, we require catalyst because this is a very slow reaction and it forms SO3. So in this particular case, actually V2O5 is required, right. And like that, PdCl2 is used in Wacker's process. Similarly, TiCl3 is used in, it is one of the component of Ziegler-Natta catalyst, which is used in polymerization, which you learn polymer. So what is the correct answer then? That means D, V2O5 should have contact process. That means D should have third. So now just look at where D third is there. Okay, this is the only option given. Then you no need to verify the other also. The correct answer is 2. Now moving to the next question, 63. It is asking about the transition element that has the lowest enthalpy of atomization. Once again, as I explained you earlier also, when you move from chromium, thereafter at Mn we have dip of, when you move from chromium, then from Mn and onwards we have dip in melting point. Like that, for the atomization also, it depends on the number of unpaired electron. Not exactly directly proportional, but yes, more or less it depends on that. So once again, it will be lowest for where we have D10 type of configuration. So answer will be zinc according to me here in this case. Now coming to the question number 64. the highest value of calculated spin only magnetic moment among all the transition metal complexes is. Now on one side what you may think that we need to see, because magnetic moment is what? Mu is equal to under root n plus 2, spin only magnetic moment I am talking about, n into n plus 2 Bohr magneton, where what is n? N is number of unpaired electron. So more the number of unpaired electron, more will be magnetic moment. So you may think that let us check that which atom have the highest number of pairs. So if you go through that, you will find that okay, chromium we have, because in case of chromium we have D5 and S1. So all 5 members here and at the same time here, so total we have 6. So you may think that okay, chromium have the maximum value, guys, but if you look at what word they have used, transition metal complex, they are not using the metal atom alone, they are asking about a complex. Complex means when it is compound like this, that chromium, when such type of compounds are there, we used to say that they are forming complex. Anyway, so in case of complex, definitely it will be under some oxidation state. So maximum electron that we can get in D that is still unpaired might be D5, and that will be for the case of many such elements. Like if you will talk about Mn plus 2 is also having this, if you will talk about iron plus 3 is also having this. So any complex of Mn plus 2 with especially with the water, that may have, there is a chance of getting 5 electron on the higher side as unpaired. Okay, so you will learn in coordination that this 5 electron D5 may or may not have 5 unpaired electron, right? So there is a concept of weak and strong field ligand, but right now here for this moment I will tell you D5 means just put 1 1 1 1 1, because they are asking that maximum possibility. So yes, with particular type of ligand we may get this kind of configuration. So maximum 5. So if you will have 5 unpaired electrons, substitute it into the formula under root n plus 2, you will get the right answer as 5.92. Now moving to the next question, and that is 65. The element that usually does not show variable oxidation state is, the element that usually does not show the variable oxidation state is. So if you know the 3D series, then you remember that scandium exclusively show plus 3, and like that at the terminal side, that zinc exclusively show Zn plus 2. Remaining all of them have the variable oxidation number. So my answer would be, here they have given about scandium, so my answer will be scandium. Now coming to the question number 66, which of the following is strongest base? Once again, if you remember that the basicity of the hydroxide is checked by basicity of oxide, and hydroxide is calculated or qualitatively determined by percentage ionic character. So more the percentage ionic character, more will be basic. Now if you go through that philosophy, then you know that from scandium to lanthanum the size increases. Okay, from scandium, yttrium, lanthanum, size continuously increases. From scandium to lanthanum the size increases, and because of that polarizing power decreases, so it is more ionic. Now if you look at the remaining elements, so they are the elements of lanthanoid series, so that will be obtained when you go from left to right. Lanthanum, cerium, okay, then Pr and dot 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 like that. So from left to right if you will move, then once again the sizes will decrease and polarizing power will increase. So that means they will be more covalent. So they are asking about the strongest base, so I will go for lanthanum hydroxide. So like that, let's talk about the question number 67. So which of the following pair is expected to exhibit the same color? Now guys, it is a very common observation that whenever two elements which have configuration f n and f of 14 minus n, their absorption band actually have the similar kind of absorption. And if you see in that way, you can think about and write down the electronic configuration of each of these ion, whichever is following. Suppose if I got some of, in one case, suppose if I got the outermost configuration as F4, then it will show the similar color with 14 minus 4. That means the element which have this F10 configuration. So F4 and F10 will have the similar color, right? So this is a very important concept in case of lanthanide series. So go ahead and just do the configuration and select accordingly. Now moving to the next question, question number 68. So paramagnetism is not exhibited by. So what is paramagnetism? Means something which is attracted towards magnetic field. Now how to know? It is determined by whether there is the presence of unpaired electron or not. So now let's talk about straight away about this one. See, in this particular case, copper is present in copper plus 1 state. And what is the configuration of copper plus 1? That is straight away 3d10. Now if 3d10 is there, do we have any unpaired electron? So answer is no. So if there is no unpaired electron, that means it will be diamagnetic. So straight away answer will be third one. So this will not show paramagnetism. Moving to the question number 69. Chloro compound of vanadium has spin only magnetic moment of 1.73. Okay, so they are telling that one of the compound of the vanadium is there. Okay, let us assume its oxidation number is plus m, right, whose magnetic moment is given as 1.7. 1.73 means root 3, and root 3 will come when in the formula of magnetic moment, if you will substitute n is equal to 1. What is n here, guys? So n is nothing but number of unpaired electron. So now ultimately what we have to search? So we have to search the cation which have only one unpaired electron, and if we will get that cation, corresponding halide will be our answer. So now what we have to do? Let us write down the vanadium configuration. So what is the configuration of vanadium? Vanadium 23 will be 3d3 and 4s2. So how many unpaired electron do we have right now in vanadium 0? So we have 3 unpaired electron. You can see 3. Now what will happen if I will remove these 2 electron? Then also it will have 3. What will happen if I will remove one more electron from here? Then it will have 2. What will happen if I will remove one more? Then it will have 1. That means you have to remove 2 of this and 2 of this. So total vanadium plus 4, that means if you will talk about V plus 4, then only you will get 3d1 and 1 unpaired electron. So that is our correct configuration and that is our desired cation. Now vanadium plus 4 will form VCl4. So my answer is second one. Now moving to the next question. The ground state electronic configuration of chromium is against. So what is the ground state configuration of chromium? The chromium configuration is 3d5 and 4s1. Actually when you are filling them, then the order is like this, that chromium is equal to argon 4s2. It was expected 3d4, but because of the half filled configuration and similarity in the energy, we get this thing 3d5. So which rule is it violating? So if you remember that N plus L rule, that is Aufbau principle. So if N plus L is more, energy is more. So according to this one, we should first fill completely S, then we move to D. But what has happened? Without completely filling, we shifted electron from S to D. So which rule is violated? Answer is Aufbau, right? So this is the ground state configuration of the chromium. This is not the excited state, this is the true state. This is the most stable state, because ground state means most stable state energy wise. So the correct answer will be Aufbau principle is violated in that particular case. Now moving to the next question, 71. They are asking about the number of transition metal in alloy gunmetal. Now here you need to understand one thing very important, that if you do not know about the gunmetal, that composition of gunmetal, you can't answer this question. Look at, they are asking about transition metal, right? So what are transition metal? Any metal whose any one of the simplest ion have the configuration from D1 to D9 is said to be transition. That means neither D0 is transition nor D10 is transition. If any metal shows D0 in its only oxidation state, or if something shows only plus 10, D10 in only oxidation state, then it is not possible. Like in case of zinc, what is the configuration? That is 3D10 4s2. You know that the only ion that exists for the zinc is Zn plus 2, and in that case we have D10. So this is non-transition. So like Zn plus 2, any one of the cation which is the only cation and have D10 completely filled, or it is D0 also, they will be considered as non-transition. So look, zinc exists in plus 2, tin exists in plus 2 and plus 4, different species are there, but in any of these cases it will always have D10. Copper can exist in two different states, copper plus 1 and copper plus 2 in the nature. So if you remember, copper plus 1 have D10, but copper plus 2 will have D9. So if D9 is there, that means one of the state is existing in which we have partially filled D. So it is a part of transition. So how many transition? Only one. So only one transition, because gunmetal is a mixture of this, and copper is the only transition metal in that case. Now coming to the question number 72, number of outermost d electrons in rhodium are. Now first of all, understand where the rhodium will be there. That is a member of cobalt group. Cobalt, rhodium, iridium. That's what the three elements are. Now the outermost configuration in rhodium. So if you know that in case of 4D series, in case of 3D we have two exceptional configuration, and that is of that is of chromium and copper. Whereas in case of 4D, apart from the first two and the last one, that means cadmium, and the first two is Y and Zr. If you leave these, all of them are having exceptional configuration. So rhodium also shows exceptional. So what is the configuration of cobalt? That is 27, so it is D7 and S2. What is the configuration of rhodium? Expected was D7 and S2, but it is exceptional, so answer is D8 S1. And you know that S1 will be there for the most of the cases in D block, except for the case of palladium. It have D0 configuration, it have S0 configuration, otherwise most of them have S1. So the correct answer will be, they are asking about number of outermost d electron in rhodium. So how many d electron we have? 8. So the correct answer in this case will be 8. Moving to the next question. So how many 3D series element from scandium to zinc have positive standard potential from +2 to M. Now, if you remember that standard potential means we are measuring the tendency of oxidation or reduction with respect to standard hydrogen electrode. That means H2 to 2H plus ion plus 2 electron, whose standard value is considered as assigned as 0. Right. So, we used to compare this thing. So, in that electrochemical series, if you remember, copper comes below hydrogen, and above this we have majority of the D block things. And if you will talk about in 3D series, so all of them are above this hydrogen. Entire 3D series elements except copper, be it scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, anything except copper, they are all above hydrogen. So essentially what does it mean? That from scandium to zinc, there is a higher tendency to go into plus state and release electron. That means oxidation tendency is dominating. So oxidation tendency is dominating means E naught oxidation will be positive, and reverse of that, that means tendency of reduction, that means by accepting these 3 electron forming scandium, that means E naught reduction, that is negative. So for most of them it is negative except for the case of copper. So copper plus 2 accepting 2 electron forming copper. In this particular case only we have positive tendency. So E naught reduction, which is what they are asking also, from +2 to M, that is positive. So correct answer will be only copper. Only one element is there whose E naught value of reduction is positive. Now they are asking about, moving to the next question, how many of the following show variable oxidation state in their compound? So variable, once again, if you remove the case of Zn, because zinc always shows +2, remaining all shows multiple state. Chromium, you know, from +1 to +6, copper +1 +2, iron +2 +3, and it goes up to +6 also. Mn, you know, +7, it is possible till +7. So except zinc, all of them. So what will be the answer? 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now, how many of the following ion have spin magnetic moment more than 4 Bohr magneton? Now, for getting this value, if we want mu to be greater than 4 Bohr magneton, then you need to understand that under root at least 4 should be there. 4 plus 2, this value will come. That means number of unpaired electron must be greater or equal to 4. So now in which case we have 4 unpaired electron? Let's look at titanium +3. So titanium +3. So titanium is having D2 configuration and S2. So if you will talk about titanium +3, it will be D1 S0. How many unpaired electron? So only one, and that of D. Now copper +1 is having D10, 0 unpaired. Nickel +2 is having D8. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have only 2 unpaired electron. Iron +3. So iron +3 will have D5 configuration. So how many unpaired electron do we have? Yes, we have 5. Similarly, Mn +2 will also have the same configuration. So my answer will be Fe +3 and Mn +2. So correct answer will be 2 in this case. So that's all, everyone. Hope you would have understood this important discussion. See you in the next video. Thank you so much. So guys, if you want more videos like this, like, share, comment, and don't forget to subscribe for the latest videos.